For nearly 4 decades, Judge Greg Mathis and his wife Linda represented something unusual in celebrity society: quiet strength, longevity, and commitment. There were no public upheavals or scandals, just a marriage that appeared to withstand celebrity without losing its core. That's why what happened next nearly instantly startled a lot of people. A love story that began long before cameras in courtrooms took a tragic turn. One that left supporters perplexed and looking for clarification. Music, it was just an abrupt change that didn't add up, not an explosive headline moment or a public accusation. The story became even more convoluted as rumors began to fill the void. So, what really transpired behind the scenes? What could force a guy who established his reputation on responsibility to confront the most intimate reflection of his life? In prison, a judge forged. Greg Mathis was born in the heart of Detroit, raised parents Charles and Alice Lee Mathis. But it was his mother who dictated the trajectory of his life. Alice was a devoted Seventh-day Adventist who put in long, hard hours as a cleaning and nurse's assistant to support her family. She was divorced and, music, parenting 4 boys alone, bearing the entire burden of the home, by the time the social turmoil of the 1960s and 1970s set in. Mathis' early years would be shaped by her transfer into the Herman Gardens housing developments in 1964 with her sons. They remained until about 1970, when drugs and violence made it hard for them to flee. It was a hard situation for anyone, let alone a single mother attempting to keep 4 boys on the right path. Alice battled back the only way she knew how, via discipline, faith, and structure. Even though she had to leave her sons alone in a dangerous neighborhood, she worked 2 jobs, sometimes nighttime shifts and other times during the day cleaning houses. She was persistent about education and spirituality. There was no negotiating church. Homework was mandatory. Prayer and family meals served as the home's pillars. But the streets outside their house were louder and more convincing than any preaching. The lessons taught at home started to deteriorate over time as a result of that strain. Mathis and his siblings were lured into street life, a fact that would eventually become important to the story of his redemption. As a youngster, Mathis was regularly in trouble, wandering into crimes including handbag snatching, breaking and entering, music, and robbery. Everything fell apart when I was 17. He spent 9 months in the Wayne County Jail due to a hidden weapons charge, which made him realize how far music, had fallen. His mother paid him a visit while he was in prison and delivered heartbreaking news. Her cancer was colon cancer. Around the same time, the judge supervising his case provided a stark choice: get a GED or stay incarcerated. Mathis received an early probationary period. However, it wasn't long after that he made a vow to his dying mother that really changed his life. His moral, music, compass was that pledge, which influenced all of his subsequent choices. The path ahead was everything but easy. After his release, Mathis found a job at McDonald's flipping burgers. It kept him employed, motivated, and in compliance with probation, not because it was glamorous. It was survival work, but it kept him moving forward. A breakthrough came when a close family friend helped him enroll, music, at Eastern Michigan University. There, Mathis acquired a passion for politics and public service. He was very involved on university, organizing demonstrations against South Africa's apartheid and joining the Democratic Party. Music, he was practicing governance, not simply learning about it. Mathis, who holds a degree in public administration, decided to target Detroit City Hall. He started out as a city council employee before joining Mayor Coleman Young's administration, managing a district city hall and maintaining a close relationship with the local community. Following Mayor Young's retirement in 1992, Mathis turned his attention to practicing law and committed himself to protecting young adults, music, who were similar to him in the past. Then his past emerged. Mathis' criminal history became a significant barrier when he filed for his law license. Rather than accept loss, he contested the ruling all the way to the Michigan Supreme Court and won. Music, his public trust and years of community service were more significant than his youth's faults. The episode garnered national attention when Mathis, music, eventually took the bench. It seemed almost unbelievable that a former prisoner could become a judge in just 15 years. Everything changed because of the allegations. Judge Greg Mathis, music, unintentionally became embroiled in a real-life drama back in 2019 that felt eerily similar to one of his own episodes. This time, however, the courthouse was swapped out for the sidewalk outside Flood's Bar and Grill, a well-known soul food, music, restaurant in Detroit. According to tales that eventually surfaced, Mathis had pulled up in his Rolls-Royce for a Friday night out. The evening went perfectly until it came time to go. The judge was left waiting after a valet, music, unintentionally got into the wrong car while still holding Mathis' car keys. Minutes passed by, frustration rose, and when the valet finally returned, things apparently boiled over. According to sources, the valet expressed regret and clarified the error, but Mathis, obviously agitated, retaliated with a furious tirade. Allegations that Mathis, music, spat on the employee before leaving in his car are said to have further exacerbated the situation. Detroit police first avoided naming the culprit, but a department spokesperson, music, subsequently confirmed the incident specifics, and police sources named Judge Mathis as the guy involved. It was a stark contrast to the calm authority people were used to seeing on television. Mathis, however, emphatically refuted the most serious charge. He admitted to raising his voice when speaking in public, but he maintained that there was no spitting. He claimed that the valet's explanation just made things worse after he had been waiting for about 40 minutes. Mathis claims that the conversation ended simply with words. He also questioned the timing and intent underlying the claims, implying they were financially driven. At that point, no criminal charges had been filed, and Mathis, music, indicated that law authorities had not contacted him personally. Mathis added another level of complexity to his story by stating that he was coping with a medical problem that evening. He stated he had a long-standing stomach issue and needed medication that was stored, music, in his trunk, making the delay extra distressing. The valet's attorney pushed back fiercely. He said that Mathis did in music, fact spit on his client and that they planned to test the valet's clothes for DNA proof. Additionally, the attorney asserted that Mathis boasted about the occurrence to onlookers in the vicinity, claiming that witnesses were prepared to corroborate it. Mathis disputed that assertion as well, claiming he had several witnesses ready to provide a radically different account of what happened. Years later, in December 2024, Mathis faced another major accusation. This time in Los Angeles, Ricardo Aosta, a city employee, announced his intention to file a lawsuit regarding an alleged altercation that allegedly occurred outside Mathis's residence in July 2023. The complaint states that Aosta parked a dump truck in a way that blocked Mathis' driveway when he was employed by the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. According to the complaint, Mathis, music, lost his temper, verbally abused Aosta, and even threatened to shoot him. Aosta said the event constituted to assault and caused enduring emotional trauma. Mathis's legal team promptly refuted the charges. His lawyers stressed that the LAPD never looked into the incident and characterized the possible lawsuit as an effort at extortion. She stated unequivocally that Mathis would vigorously retaliate with countersuits for defamation and illegal behavior if a lawsuit were to be brought. The complaint itself depicted a tense situation. It said Mathis stood close behind the truck, calling for Aosta, music, to move it. According to reports, Mathis ignored Aosta's attempt to clarify that the truck was on an incline and need room to transport music safely and proceeded to escalate the altercation. The most severe claim followed shortly after with allegations that Mathis walked back inside his home, returned with a gun, and threatened to shoot him. Aosta claimed that because of the incident's severe effects, he had to seek medical attention as well as legal assistance. In addition to future earning potential and the emotional harm he claims the encounter caused, he is requesting reimbursement for lost wages. Collectively, these episodes have tainted the public perception of a man who has long been known for administering justice on television, prompting inquiries about what transpires when the judge leaves the courtroom and enters the real world. What truly ended? Judge Mathis. One of those names that doesn't require any introduction is Greg Mathis. He has been a regular sight in American living rooms for decades, most famously as Judge Mathis' face. Furthermore, this was not your typical courtroom drama. It turned into one of the longest-running programs in the history of the genre. Judge Mathis is ranked fourth in the history of court shows, only surpassed by Judge Judy, the People's Court, and the Divorce Court. However, a closer glance reveals the true difference. While Divorce Court and the People's Court went through cancellations, reboots, music, and a revolving door of judges, Judge Mathis kept steady. Greg Mathis never left the bench and the production itself never changed hands. The same could only be said by Judge Judy. Judge Mathis became the longest-running court show with the same judge and original production remaining when Judge Judy's unprecedented 25-season run concluded in 2021. That's why 2022 seems so unexpected. Warner Brothers canceled Judge Mathis in a broad move that marked a significant change in daytime television. At the very same time, they simultaneously pulled the plug on the People's Music Court, then hosted by Marilyn Millian. It wasn't just two shows ending. It seemed like the last chapter of a whole period. Judge Mathis made his debut in 1999 and ended after 24 music seasons. The People's Court closed after 26 seasons dating back to 1997. Together with Telictor, Warner Brothers produced both unscripted television programs, which were syndicated by Warner Brothers Domestic Television. These were the mainstays of daytime television, then all of a sudden they vanished. Industry sources pointed to a deeper problem: the steady decline of daytime syndication. Local stations were slashing funds. Advertising funds were drying up. And syndicated shows were growing difficult to justify financially. Many station groups concluded it was cheaper and safer to grow local news programming instead of paying for syndicated information. The math simply stopped working. Shortly after the announcement, Greg Mathis addressed his audience personally to clarify the truth. He clarified that the show didn't end because viewers stopped tuning in. He claimed that Warner Brothers has decided to completely abandon judging shows as part of a larger strategy. Additionally, he was extremely clear about one issue. His story did not end here. He actually made a suggestion that something new was already underway, and he wanted it constructed in a different way this time. Modi started concentrating on black-owned studios, black artists, and black business owners. He had a straightforward but pressing aim. Instead of only providing surface-level representation, provide genuine power, ownership, and opportunity. He spoke freely about how many of the diversity promises made by corporations in Hollywood in recent years had silently disappeared. He cited accounts of entire teams of color being replaced in music and projects being shelved at a time when there was an increasing desire for real black narratives. This was more than just frustrating to Mathis. It was a call to action. While the courtroom doors were closing, another portion of his life was opening up on TV. Writing, music, the success of his legal practice, Mathis took viewers into his home with Mathis Family Matters. The reality show provided a unique glimpse into his life as a husband, father, and family man. Music, he wasn't the original creator of the concept. Steve Harvey encouraged his son Amir, who was working as a producer, to pursue his own family-based show. At first, Mathis wasn't convinced, but Amir made a persuasive case. Their family wasn't based around chaos or manufactured drama. All four Mathis children were grown professionals in their 30s handling employment, relationships, and personal issues in real time. That became the center of the show. It wasn't about viral moments or dramatic battles. It was about observing successful folks navigate the challenges, imperfections, and development of real life. Mathis laid out one strong guideline before filming began. No fighting, no screaming, no harmful conduct. He wanted the show to convey positivism, accountability, and love. The audience reacted right away. The series was hailed by viewers as wholesome, revitalizing, and profoundly uplifting. Many characterized it as an uncommon and potent manifestation of black achievement, stability, and love. For Mathis, the reaction underlined he'd made the right call. And just when it seemed like he could be stepping away from the courtroom for good, 2023 came another turn. With a fresh series, Greg Mathis made a comeback to the bench. Mathis, Music, Court with Judge Mathis, created by Allen Media Group. Byron Allen hailed him as legendary and a singularly charismatic member of the company's expanding portfolio. The new program debuted as an hour-long music series that aired on broadcast, cable, and internet platforms every day. The partnership felt personal to Mathis. He considered Allen Media Group to be a contemporary Madone of court television, and both guys were from Detroit. Following this, Judge Greg Mathis divorced his wife right away. Gregory Mathis and Linda's journey doesn't start in a courtroom or beneath glaring Hollywood lights. It starts quietly on a college campus at Eastern Michigan University. They met as students, young and figuring life out, and stayed together for 4 full years before deciding to get engaged. Long before notoriety, cameras, or an Emmy-winning television program entered the scene, they were married on June 1, 1985. Together, they raised 4 children: Jade, Camer, Greg Jr., and Amir, building a family from the ground up over the years. Their marriage served as an example of stability for many years. As a result, many were surprised to learn in August 2024 music that Judge Gregory Mathis and Linda were divorcing. In fact, the couple had split up the previous July and were now formally pursuing a divorce. July 17 was listed as the formal date of separation in court filings submitted by Linda yet Mathis on August 22. The explanation offered after over 40 years of dating was straightforward: depressing, insurmountable disagreements. It is unknown if the couple actually signed a prenuptial agreement, but Linda also asked for spousal music support. They had just graduated from college and were years away from the prosperity and success that would subsequently characterize Judge Mathis' public life when they got married. The shock made sense. Gregory Mathis had always discussed his wife in an honest and affectionate manner. He posted a vintage image from their wedding day in April 2021, praising Linda for helping him change his life, music, and hoping that their story will serve as an example for future couples. He made it apparent that his achievement was not a one-man show when he was awarded his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame a year later. On Mathis Family Matters, their reality show, he talked about his time in Detroit and how Linda's encouragement allowed him to work long hours and pursue his goals. Sitting peacefully next to him, Linda confirmed that this kind of support for one another was just the way their family functioned. Even in recent years, the public image of their connection seems robust. Gregory shared pictures from a vacation in Cabo at the beginning of January, showing the two kissing and spending time together as 2023 came to an end. That same year, they spent part of the summer traveling through Europe on Magic Johnson's huge super yacht alongside other high-profile couples like Michael Jordan and Samuel L. Jackson. Photos from Greece, France, music, and Italy showed Gregory with his arms wrapped around Linda, both smiling and calm, enjoying in what looked like a fantastic holiday. They continued to appear together at public events, such as the Influencers Brunch, by March. Gregory emphasized that they didn't argue and characterized their family as calm and unified when asked if their reality program would return. Linda reiterated his sentiments, stressing how essential it was to show the world strong, loving Black families, music, without perpetual conflict. Nothing seemed out of place at the start of 2024. Red carpet interviews and Cabo's social media posts conveyed a sense of intimacy and pride in the life they had created together. Fans were left looking for music answers when the split was made public a few months later. In the court of public opinion, many people found it difficult to accept that a 40-year marriage could dissolve without a more profoundly concealed turning point. The questions started to whirl all of a sudden. Now, the internet moves quickly once a well-known marriage ends. Long before facts do, speculation fills in the blanks. In this instance, the focus quickly shifted to Judge Mathis. Almost quickly, allegations began flying that he had been unfaithful. The narrative then took a turn for the worst. Online discussion went from rumors of adultery to full-blown claims of a secret child, with comments sections pushing a dramatic side baby story as if it were accepted fact. Beneath all that commotion, however, was a serious issue. There was no evidence. There were no reliable music reports. No purported partner came forward. Furthermore, the allegations were never supported by any hard evidence. Nevertheless, the rumors were so loud, music, that Mathis had to respond to them directly. While passing through LAX, he spoke freely to TMZ, characterizing the event as one of the worst periods of his life. Instead of avoiding blame, he acknowledged responsibility for music, the dissolution of his marriage, framing his experience as a warning to other males. While he was not leading a parallel life, he made it apparent that he could understand his wife Linda's suspicions about music. He acknowledged that neglect was the main problem. Mathis admitted that his wife had gradually become less important to him, occasionally taking precedence over his social life, his work, and his responsibilities to the community. He acknowledged that he neglected to make time for his spouse between filming his show, traveling frequently, and hanging out with pals. He had told himself and his wife that things would, music, change when his show's production relocated from Chicago to Los Angeles in 2023. More time spent at home and a renewed emphasis on their relationship were anticipated as a result of the move. According to Mathis, the promise went unmet. By the time he realized the harm, the relationship had already broken down since he continued to be busy in travel. In a subsequent discussion, Mathis was adamant about putting an end to the most outrageous rumors. He made it plain there was no secret child involved and emphatically disputed any darker rumors that had begun spreading online. What remained, he added, was lot more ordinary and far more terrible. A long-term marriage that is stressed due to emotional distance and absence. He also discussed how his lifestyle may have encouraged suspicion. Doubt might quickly develop because he was away for weeks at a time, traveling across the nation, going to events, and interacting with people without his wife. From his perspective, he understood why that pattern raised doubts, even if infidelity was never his aim. He insisted that adultery was not the cause of their marriage's breakdown and that his travels were never intended to pursue a new relationship. Social media was lighted up by those remarks. Users swiftly divided into groups on X, with some expressing compassion and others condemning his decisions. Some questioned how he could be blindsided by divorce papers after weeks on the trip, while others stressed how emotionally terrible divorce can be and encouraged sympathy. As for Mathis, he believes he's not ready to let go just yet. Even after the breakup, he and Linda were still living under the same roof, trying to keep things cordial and friendly. He has made no secret of his desire to make amends for what went wrong and demonstrate that genuine reform is achievable. In his mind, this chapter isn't over. He genuinely thinks that the marriage can still be saved before everything is formalized if he puts out constant effort and accepts full responsibility. However, the equilibrium seemed off from the outside. While Mathis came across as a guy still finding his feet, resolute, hopeful, but unsure of how or even if the journey back would come together, Linda remained largely silent. The tone started to shift by October. Mathis appeared cautiously hopeful, assuring reporters that a reconciliation was on the horizon. He talked about concentrating on presence rather than pace, spending a lot more time at home, and eventually, music, doing the work he had put off for a long time. It seemed like more than words for the first time. Then came November 2024 when it became evident that his persistence, music, had paid off. Months after openly vowing to get his wife back, Mathis acknowledged that their marriage was no longer in limbo. The two were actively rebuilding and this time the improvement felt real. Reflecting on the incident, Mathis regarded it as a crucial breaking point, the kind that pushes growth and redirects purpose. He now portrayed his goal as something closer to home, safeguarding and boosting Black love, after a life that had brought him from the streets, through incarceration, and into decades of service to at-risk youngsters. And fondness had returned to their daily lives, he admitted lightheartedly. When asked whether he was officially out of trouble, Mathis declined to speak for his wife, choosing humility over victory laps. Linda, for her part, said very little, but her presence alongside him said enough. They were there together, and that alone spoke volumes. The comeback was evident by July 2025, over a year after their marriage reached its lowest ebb. A fresh image of the couple kissing in music, New York City went viral on the internet. It wasn't an isolated moment, either. Months before, Mathis had shared a lighthearted, music-loving video of himself serenading Linda during a karaoke moment at a party, culminating once again with a kiss. The message was plain. Something had altered, and whatever effort was done behind the scenes had made a perceptible effect. The couple had a very candid talk on the Tamron Hall show later that year, in October 2025. Together, they recalled the pressure that nearly killed their marriage and revealed how that same rupture finally brought them back together. Mathis freely admitted that his work had been a major factor in their relationship from the start. His regular travel and busy schedule meant Linda handled most of the burden at home. A dynamic that slowly undermined equilibrium and connection. Still, they acknowledged that after splitting in August 2024, they didn't waste the time apart. Though the physical separation lasted barely 3 weeks, the emotional labor was severe. By emphasizing accountability and personal development, they established the foundation for a more robust collaboration. Ahead of the interview, Linda noted that the process had been surprisingly positive, describing their progress as steady, significant, and deeply rewarding. She also supplied vital information about her decision to file for divorce in the first place. Although her children were always her top priority, she eventually came to the realization that she had been neglecting herself for too long. After years of being the emotional anchor of the family, she sought to recover her own well-being. She clarified that this change served as the basis for a future partnership that was more harmonious. The split was traumatic for Mathis. He stated that the pain paralleled the loss of his mother, a contrast that emphasized just how deeply the encounter affected him. He claimed that this degree of pain drove him to take any necessary steps to save the marriage. Just saying sorry wasn't enough. In order to reconnect in ways they hadn't in years, the couple had to gradually rediscover one another. Linda observed that although Mathis never actually moved out, there was a genuine and challenging emotional disconnect throughout that time. Still, the effort paid off. She described their current chapter as joyous, music, and continuously growing, noting that the process of reuniting has been something they sincerely enjoy. Their son, Music, Greg Mathis Jr., who later talked openly about the experience while at the NAACP Image Awards in Los Angeles, shared that feeling of stability. Preparing for the release of his new BT Plus video, he pondered on how bizarre it was to watch his parents' private troubles unfold so publicly. He noted that the family is now in a good place and expressed relief and thankfulness that they were able to resolve the chaos. Ultimately, it seems like the Mathis family has regained stability. Not by avoiding the flaws, but by facing them head-on and choosing day by day to rebuild.